Hey, welcome. My name is Bob. I'm a geologist with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and this is a short video to introduce you to our next Digital Earth Academy, a series designed to explore our world from above, way above, up in space. We're using a program called OpenSpace. It's funded by NASA, but you can do this at home using something like Google Earth. Let's start out by looking at Colorado from way, way up. We'll start all the way out at the moon. Goodness, I can't even see the United States, much less find Colorado. We need to get closer. Let's go to the International Space Station. Okay, now at the space station, we are about 240 miles up above the Earth's surface. That's about the distance from Denver to Grand Junction. Does it look like it's inhabited? Do you see anything recognizable or signs of intelligent life? I don't know. It's not much there, maybe. Let's get closer. Let's get to the level of an airplane, which would be about 6 miles up. Are there patterns made by intelligent life? What do you think those circles are? Those are irrigated fields in central Colorado where they're growing potatoes. We need to have enough detail to recognize objects, either by being close enough to them or using a magnifier like a telescope. We use the word resolution to characterize the amount of detail that we need to recognize a particular object. Let's visit with Asa and Mitch to do some experiments about resolution.
How much detail we can see on a thing is called resolution. So let's do a resolution experiment with our eyes. For this experiment, we'll need a couple of pennies, some tape, and a piece of paper. Tape the pennies to the paper 1 penny's width apart. Then stick the paper up on a wall or have a fellow scientist hold it. The aim of this experiment is to test the resolving power of our eyes. We'll do that by slowly backing away from the piece of paper until we can no longer tell the pennies apart. While you're setting up, make a prediction. How far away until you no longer will be able to tell the pennies apart? For safety's sake, it's best to do this somewhere that doesn't have stuff on the ground that you could trip over. Also, be honest when you can no longer tell the pennies apart. It's an experiment, not a competition. And winning in science means getting closer to the truth. So be honest with your results. At this distance, we're about 5 feet away. Here we are at about 10. And now 20. 30 feet. 40 feet. 50 feet. And now here we are at about 100 feet. We definitely can't see the pennies apart. So let's see how a telephoto lens helps our vision. All right, we have the telephoto lens in place. And let's see here. Yep, with the lens, it's a lot easier to see that the pennies are apart. So if we were looking at Earth from space, we have to get as close as we can to see details. Right, Bob?
Now, let's look for signs of intelligent life on Earth. Are there buildings that we can see in Colorado? If we look down from the space station, it doesn't look very inhabited. Is anybody there? Let's get closer. We'll drop down to airplane level and look at Denver. What is that round thing? Let's get a little bit closer. Aha, the Broncos Stadium. I hope some of you have been there. Let's look at some other buildings and think about a couple of things. One, our ability to see them from above. That's the resolution that we talked about earlier. And then, will they last a long time? First, let's look at some skyscrapers. Can you see some in Denver? Maybe we should go to New York City. Ah, this city has many skyscrapers. Perhaps you can see the shadow from the Empire State Building. Do you think these buildings will last a long time? 100 years? 1,000 years? I don't know. But we can go to Egypt and we'll see a building that's lasted for 5,000 years. Let's look. As we get closer, do you recognize the pyramids? Now let's visit with Asa and Mitch and do some experiments on the stability of buildings.
Here's a fun experiment you can do to investigate what kind of factors allow a building to withstand the test of time. On the Earth, buildings withstand all sorts of stresses, like the wind and water from rain and hurricanes and tidal waves. And even earthquakes. Now, all of these towers fell over, but what kind of structure might stand the test of time? Here we've used dried spaghetti and marshmallows to make a pyramid and a tower, although we found the tower hard to build, so it's kind of a bendy tower. Now, both of them withstand the wind pretty well, possibly because they don't have any sides, so the air can pass right through. Now, here comes the water test. Both buildings seem to withstand that as well. The tower seems to move a little bit, but the pyramid is unfazed. Now, what about the earthquake test? Both buildings are shaking a little bit, but the pyramid doesn't seem to move at all. Now, the tower falls, but that pyramid isn't moving. Even if Asa does an extreme earthquake, that pyramid won't fall over. Now, another big factor is materials. Here we've built a tower out of blocks and a Stonehenge-like structure out of cement cinder blocks. Now, the blocks fall right over in the wind, but our big, heavy cement structure is not moving at all in that wind. The water test doesn't phase it either, not even the earthquake. So shape and materials are big factors that allow a building to last. What are some other factors you can think of, and how could you test those?
Thank you to Asa and Mitch, our museum educators. Wonderful to see those experiments. We have seen that it can be difficult to recognize our human activities from space. Our cities and fields are hard to see unless we get close enough or use a telescope. You need to have enough resolution in order to see them. Let's try a trick and look at Colorado at night. Here, from the space station elevation, what do you see? It looks like some interesting patterns. What do you think they are? We can fly east and end our tour over New York. Yes, the bright city lights can be seen from space. We look forward to seeing you at our next Digital Earth Academy. It's called Stonehenge to Skyscrapers, and we'll be investigating in more detail what human activities can be seen from space. See you soon.